as far as I can recall, I think it had probably 18 Hurricanes.
Yeah.
AX was the number of one squadron, or the letters allocated to it, and then A, B, C, D, depending on the aircraft you were flying. And I think it was 18 to 20 aircraft that they had, some of which invariably were having maintenance done on the engine, and that. They were split into two flights, usually A and B. The OC was a major, and in our case it was, we used to call him Benny Osler, after the name of the rugby player. His name actually was Malcolm, but he was always called Benny Osler. He was our first OC, and a very, very efficient man too. And you were in A flight and B flight, and you were allocated to share an aircraft to begin with. There must have been 20 pilots, I suppose. It's a shotgun estimate. Officers-wise, you had an engineering officer, a signals officer. You had an adjutant, of course, a medical officer, armaments officer. Yes, you had an instrument basher who wasn't necessarily an officer. He was a sergeant usually. And all the aspects, some of the mechanics, they were called ERCs. I don't know where that came from, unless it's an abbreviation of aircraftman from the RAF. It's not aircraftsman, it's aircraftman. And it might have been that. I'd have to look up the dictionary, but it became standard practice to regard them as ERCs. And they were a long-suffering, most necessary adjunct in a squadron. They got little praise, but they did an amazing job of work. And they kept our machines going. And in the des you used to get vicious sandstorms, make no mistake about that. And to keep those engines and to keep the guns clear of anything like that was a major operation. They used to work under those conditions. I mean, we just sat in a tent and they were busy working on the aircraft. They would work on them at night. So I had lots of praise for all those people. But as far as the squadron was concerned, we were operating from a desert aerodrome, and generally a desert aerodrome, firstly, the ground is not like the lovely dunes that you see in the Beau Geste novels. The ground is pretty flat, quite a lot of pebbles, rocks on it, and if you fell hard, you grazed yourself. It wasn't the soft stuff. There were soft patches, certainly, but what usually happened is the bods constructing the aerodrome would move all the pebbles and everything off and check that it was a big squarish landing ground, and your tents would be set around that. You'd have the officers' tents in a certain area, medics, and then the mechanics. And one officer who I've left out was the so-called intelligence officer. We used to refer to him as the operations, the ops officer.